Deep dive on PR Genius.
You're looking to cut through the noise, get the real story, the key insights, without getting lost in, well, a tidal wave of information.
That's what we do here.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing today with a brand new deep dive.
And what a subject we have for you. We're diving headfirst into the bizarre and fascinating universe of the band GWAR.
That's right. We've got a stack of really intriguing sources here, stuff that'll help us explore everything from, like, the nuts and bolts of their music production
To the sprawling, often kind of ridiculous mythology behind those infamous costumes.
Right. And the surprisingly devoted fan base that, keeps the blood spraying.
Yeah, so to guide our exploration, we've got a producer's inside look at the making of their album, The Blood of Gods, which is fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
And a deep dive into their mythology and costumes, courtesy of some Reddit discussions.
Okay.
Plus a tour announcement that connects them to the wonderfully strange Church of the Subgenius.
Always a weird connection there.
Totally. Then there's a critical look at issues of sexism at their GWAR BQ festival based on one report.
Important to cover.
And an insightful interview about the This Is GWAR documentary, plus a revealing conversation with the band's current singer, Blothar.
Okay, so quite a mix. Our goal then is basically to synthesize all of this, pull out the most crucial and maybe unexpected elements.
So you walk away with a real understanding of GWAR's unique place in music and culture.
Exactly. We want to spark your curiosity, not, drown you in details. Okay, let's unpack this. Maybe start with the creation of The Blood of Gods.
Sounds good. What's really insightful here is the backdrop, right? The context for this album.
Yeah.
Producer Ronan Chris Murphy, he emphasizes the really difficult period the band faced, with the passing of guitarist Corey Smoot in 2011.
Flatus Maximus.
Right. And then the iconic vocalist Dave Brockie, Odorous Urungus, in 2014.
Yeah, that hit hard. It really struck me how strong the fan reaction was after Brockie's death. You saw a lot of GWAR died with odorous stuff online.
Oh, definitely. But Brockie himself, he had expressed a clear wish for the band to continue.
Right.
And that became a powerful driving force for them, it seems.
And that's where this producer, Murphy, his connection becomes really interesting, doesn't it?
It really does. He wasn't just some hired gun. He was like part of their original Richmond punk scene.
Yeah.
Lived in the same art studio where the band kind of came together.
No way.
Yeah, he even apparently had chances to join them way back in the late 80s.
Wow. Talk about a deep connection. So he saw something more there.
Exactly. He'd always seen the raw talent beneath all the theatrics, A musicality he felt often got overshadowed by the sheer spectacle of their stage show.
Makes sense.
So as they were navigating this new era with Michael Bishop stepping up,
who longtime fans know as their former bassist Beefcake the Mighty, right? And an early songwriter, too.
Precisely. So Murphy was kind of a natural choice to help them find their footing, someone connected to their roots.
So what was his approach then, production-wise?
What's fascinating is Murphy's approach. He deliberately aimed for a more organic sound.
Okay.
A departure from the really heavily processed metal that's so common now.
Which actually fits GWAR, doesn't it? They always had those punk and classic rock elements.
Exactly. It aligned really well with their own musical DNA. You can hear influences like Sweet, Motorhead, even Celtic Frost, maybe some R&B in there too, oddly enough.
Okay. So it sounds like they really dug into the direction during pre-production.
Oh, yeah. 3 intense sessions, according to Murphy. It must have been a delicate balancing act,
How so?
Honoring what the hardcore fans expected while still giving the band room to evolve, try new things.
Right. That classic GWAR attitude.
Exactly. Murphy quotes the band's attitude as, "This is GWAR, we get to do whatever the fuck we want."
Perfect.
Which totally captures their spirit. But alongside that freedom, there was a real focus on strengthening the musical core of the album. Murphy's main goal, he said, was to make a music-first GWAR album.
Something that could stand up musically even if you'd never seen them live.
Yeah, exactly. Impress people who maybe didn't know the whole image thing.
And the recording details are pretty revealing too, apparently.
Yeah, some interesting tidbits. Drums were done at White Star Sound.
Isn't that known more for singer-songwriters?
It is, but it had these API mic preamps from Sunset Sound, legendary rock gear.
Okay.
And Murphy's mic choices were quite deliberate. An AKG D112 on the kick, apparently, and a single Shure SM57 on the snare really forming the foundation. Pretty classic stuff.
Okay. And then back to their own place for overdubs.
Yeah, moved to G-War's own slave pit for overdubs, using a design's Pacifica preamps.
And guitars. What was the approach there? Still layered walls of sound.
Surprisingly stripped down, actually. Usually just 2 guitars panned hard left and right.
Really?
Yeah, and they actually scaled back the distortion a bit to get more power and punch, apparently.
Wow.
They used vintage Marshall amps, too. One was even rumored to have belonged to Ace Frehley.
Get out. That's
epic.
cool.
Along with Love Rock and Schecter guitars. And the bass, super simple, Fender Super Bassman direct out into a distressor.
Straightforward. And vocals. Blothar's got a big range to capture.
They used a Perlman TM1 mic for Blothar, which is known for capturing a wide range. Then an SM7B for other vocalists. Oh, and MC Chris did a guest spot recorded elsewhere.
Gotcha. And mixing. Still using analog gear.
Yeah, mixing and mastering at Veneta West used both Pro Tools and a selection of analog outboard gear for, shaping the tone.
Sounds intense.
Murphy's account makes it clear it was demanding, like 14-hour days, 7 days a week.
Wow.
But the positive reception, cracking the Billboard Top 50, it really speaks to their dedication and the quality of the work. Right?
Absolutely. It's a real testament to their ability to keep pushing forward creatively, especially after facing such huge losses. Okay, let's switch gears now. This connection to the Church of the Subgenius. That sounds fun.
It really is. This pairing, highlighted by a tour announcement, it just points to this shared undercurrent of satire,
Yeah.
A rejection of mainstream norms.
And Reverend Ivan Stang himself was into it.
Oh, yeah. Gave a wonderfully enthusiastic endorsement, proclaiming Jwar totally beyond but Hein, and saying he couldn't get through a day without their music. High praise.
It does feel like a perfect fit in a wonderfully weird way. And there was a Reddit thread about this, too, from back in the day.
Yeah, from the mid-90s. It really gives you a sense of how this resonated with fans back then. Apparently, running into info about the Church of the Subgenius at GWAR shows or on college radio was, like, a pretty common thing.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Brings back memories.
The discussion brings up Bob Dobbs, of course, the pipe-smoking figurehead.
Yeah, the search for slack.
Exactly. That whole concept of pursuing slack, that ultimate freedom from societal pressures and the daily grind.
Definitely resonated with a certain slice of Gen X culture, didn't it? Questioning authority, embracing the absurd.
Totally. Someone even mentions the recruitment video Arise, which, yeah, you can imagine fitting right in with GWAR's whole vibe.
And there were some funny anecdotes in there, too.
Yeah, great little stories. Someone's landlord in Dallas was a member. Another user mentioned their workplace completely blocking the GWAR website.
Huh. Says it all, doesn't it?
It really underscores how GWAR is perceived by some as, well, let's just say, not safe for work.
Or maybe too weird for work.
Probably both. But it's interesting how these two seemingly different groups, a shock rock band and a parody religion, found this common ground.
In satirizing society and belief systems.
Exactly. Though one Reddit user did make an interesting point about how the landscape of humor has shifted since the QAnon phenomenon, suggesting that satire like this might be viewed through a different lens now by some.
That's a valid point. Things change. But GWAR has always thrived on pushing boundaries, challenging expectations.
Much like the Church of the Subgenius, with its deliberate absurdity, it's a fascinating intersection, really. Weird and culturally subversive.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's delve into maybe a more complex and at times uncomfortable area. The discussions around sexism at the GWAR BQ.
Right. So this report we looked at covered the 7th annual GWAR BQ Festival. And it highlighted concerns raised by some attendees about, well, sexism and a perceived lack of diversity in the lineup.
And some specific bands were mentioned.
Yeah, the inclusion of I Hate God, who apparently have a history of using racial slurs.
Okay.
And their fill-in singer at the time was Phil Anselmo, who, as many know, has faced controversy over past racist actions, like the Nazi salute incident.
Right, that caused a big stir. So that understandably created unease for some people at the festival.
Exactly. It's a really stark contrast mentioned in the article. One attendee, Marcus Roberts, was quoted as seeming somewhat indifferent to the Anselmo thing, but he appreciated Band Against Me playing afterward. Saw it as a kind of counterbalance.
And Against Me is a really significant choice there, isn't it?
Hugely significant. They're a punk band fronted by Laura Jane Grace, a trans woman who's been incredibly vocal about transgender acceptance in the music scene.
So her presence, her message, directly challenged the problematic stuff some attendees felt were present.
Right. The article then shares these anonymous accounts, one from a queer fan called Anne and a vendor named Emily.
And their experiences weren't great.
No, they really paint a picture of the sometimes unsafe atmosphere that unfortunately can exist at some hardcore and punk shows, including events like GWAR-BQ, according to their accounts.
What kind of things did they describe?
Well, Anne's experiences are quite troubling. She described male fans causing injuries in the mosh pit, dismissing concerns from female fans, and even mentioned a really disturbing account of a woman being sexually assaulted while crowd surfing, with apparently little intervention.
That's awful.
Yeah. And Emily echoed those feelings, sharing her own past discomfort at punk and hardcore shows due to sexist behavior, dismissive comments.
It really highlights a difficult reality, doesn't it? These scenes often attract people who feel like outsiders.
Right, alienated people coming together.
Yet they can sometimes replicate the very harmful behaviors they're supposedly pushing back against.
The article points out this inherent tension quite well. The potential for both progressive and problematic elements to exist side by side in the same subculture.
You saw that right there at the festival, apparently.
According to the report, yeah. The contrasting messages during I Hate God set stuff like fuck SJWs being shouted.
Versus Against Me's set promoting acceptance and love.
Exactly. It really underscores the divide. Now, it's important for us to state, the article itself reports on these concerns without taking a definitive stance. It just presents what was observed and reported by attendees.
Right. We're just relaying what the source material contained.
Yeah.
But it definitely raises important questions about accountability, creating safer spaces within these communities.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing conversation in many music scenes.
Okay, let's shift gears again. From the real-world issues to the completely fantastical, the mythology of GWAR.
This is where things get truly epic, right? And that Reddit discussion we looked at really captures how deep the fans get into this incredibly detailed backstory.
But it's hard to track down.
Yeah. As they point out, the mythology isn't all in one neat place. It's scattered across their music, videos, comics, other media. Finding a single definitive source is kind of like a quest itself.
But there's one thing that comes close.
Apparently, the A GWAR Rumble in Amargaker core rulebook is considered the most comprehensive published account, at least laying out their history up to the We Kill Everything album.
Okay, so where does this cosmic saga even begin? Billions of years ago.
Pretty much. The beings who eventually become GWAR started out serving under this mysterious figure known only as the Master.
Okay.
In his brutal scumdog legions, basically instruments of galactic conquest, enslavement, widespread destruction. Your typical Tuesday for them, maybe?
Right. And the core early members. Odorous, Ballsack, Beefcake, Flatus, Gizmac. They were the original scumdogs.
Generally considered so, yeah. Along with characters like Sexecutioner, Slimenstra Hyman, and later Bone Snapper.
What about the current lineup? Lothar. Pestilus.
Glothar's origins are a bit more hazy, but he's believed to be another scumdog who joined later on. Pustulus Maximus is part of the Maximus clan, but wasn't explicitly called a scumdog before joining GWAR, according to fan discussions.
Gotcha. And there were others.
Yeah, we hear about Techno Destructo, Bozo Destructo. Sawborg Destructo is a scumdog by extension. Their initial leader was a general named Zog, taught them the art of war.
And they fought space Catholics.
Haha, yeah. A significant early conflict involved their campaign against the baby-eating space Catholics, led by Cardinal Sin and the Sinite warriors.
Perfectly on brand for GWAR. But their galactic rampage takes a wrong turn, right?
It does. They accidentally destroy the wrong planet, Flabcore 6 instead of 7. Oops.
Just off by one.
Which leads to their banishment to what the Master considers the most insignificant planet in the universe.
Birth. And their arrival on prehistoric Earth is chaotic.
Exactly as chaotic as you'd expect. They corrupt the peaceful dinosaurs, turn them into vicious predators.
And eat them.
Naturally. Most of them anyway, leaving just one lone T-Rex egg.
Of course.
Then comes the rather interesting part about their rampant bestiality with apes.
Oh boy.
Which, according to the mythology, is what led to the mutation and evolution of humanity.
Wait. GWAR created humans.
Alongside other mythical creatures like centaurs, satyrs, and minotaurs, yeah. That's the lore.
So GWAR is responsible for everything. That's a pretty bold origin story.
It doesn't stop there. The narrative continues with the supposed golden age of human debauchery. Humanity's constant partying and alcohol actually kept Jiwar at bay for a while.
Kept them distracted.
Apparently. Humans mostly congregated in Atlantis during this time, but inevitably Jiwar gets involved in sinking Atlantis.
Resetting human civilization.
Pretty much. Then another character, Scrota Moon, who is advising the Master and watching Jiwar, journeys from the moon and eventually entombs them in Antarctica.
So for like most of human history, Jiwar is just frozen.
Essentially, yeah. Frozen in time while pyramids are built, empires rise and fall, all that stuff.
Until the 80s.
Exactly. Fast forward to the 1980s, and along comes Sleazy P. Martini,
The manager.
a rather unscrupulous music manager, stumbles upon them in Antarctica, introduces them to drugs,
Of course.
becomes their manager, brings them to America to unleash their unique brand of musical mayhem on the world.
How did they even team up?
Well, Sleazy finds this fragmented tablet with instructions that vaguely identifies their awakener as a cool guy.
And Jiwar figures that it must be Sleazy.
Because he has drugs and promises victims, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they form an alliance.
And from that point on, the storylines follow the albums.
Generally, yeah. Conflicts with past enemies, government agencies, bizarre Earth creatures. It roughly follows the release order. And as mentioned, for anyone wanting the full scripture, Jiwar's official mythology is apparently available on their website.
It's unbelievably intricate, isn't it?
Yeah.
The level of detail they've poured into this bizarre universe is truly impressive.
It's a world unto itself.
Okay, let's shift focus now to something that tries to capture all this. The documentary. This is Gwar.
Right. This film is really positioned as the definitive, comprehensive account of the band's long, often turbulent history.
And it shows the people behind the masks.
Very much so. What's really striking is how it pulls back the curtain, reveals the individuals as this deeply connected, supportive, creative family.
Despite all the gore.
Where does it trace their origins?
Back to a rundown artist squat in 1980s Richmond, Virginia. The merging of Dave Brockie's punk band, Death Piggy.
And Hunter Jackson's wild movie idea, Scumdogs of the Universe.
Exactly. And it doesn't shy away from the complex, ultimately fractured relationship between Brockie and Jackson either.
And it covers the tragedies, too.
Oh, yes. It highlights the band's remarkable resilience facing significant tragedy, the deaths of both Brockie and guitarist Corey Smoot.
And didn't someone get shot?
Yeah, a member was shot during a mugging incident. The emotional weight of all this is really palpable in the film. They even include footage of Brockie's Viking funeral.
Wow. Heavy stuff. The current members talk about it in the film. Yeah, there are interviews with current members Brad Roberts, Jizmek Degusha, and Matt McGuire, Slawberg Destructo. They talk about their experiences with the documentary.
And they compare Jiwar to Spinal Tap.
They do. Humorous comparison, given the sheer absurdity of the situations they often find themselves in. Just totally over the top.
Did they feel the director got it right?
They credit the director, Scott Barber, for creating this atmosphere of trust. Made them feel comfortable sharing their story openly, honestly.
That's crucial for a doc like this.
Yeah, McGuire described the interview process as feeling more like just chatting with a good friend. And Roberts expressed satisfaction with how the film handled the chronology of their long, winding career.
Does McGuire define what makes someone a Gwar person?
He does, actually. Offers a really insightful definition. Creative, talented, and fiercely dedicated to their shared vision, willing to work incredibly hard for it.
And Roberts adds his usual humor.
Of course. He adds, it's the most work you'll ever do, trying not to have a job.
Classic. The doc also touches upon that time they almost hit the mainstream.
Yeah, their near brush with mainstream success. And Brockie's deliberate act of, well, self-sabotage, turning in their most deliberately offensive album at a crucial moment.
Why?
It really underscores their commitment to artistic integrity over chasing fame or, typical band goals.
They found their niche instead.
Exactly. Found their dedicated audience in the subculture freaks, people who loved horror, dinosaurs, Dungeons and Dragons.
D&D comes up again.
Yeah, its influence is clearly significant. Brockie apparently often led elaborate campaigns while they were on tour, speaks to that creative, imaginative core.
And the film addresses the decision to continue after Brockie.
Definitely. A huge part of it. Emphasizing how Michael Bishop stepping into the Blothar role was really the only path forward that felt authentic, respectful to the legacy, the fans.
It must have been incredibly difficult.
You feel their profound sense of loss for both Brockie and Smoot throughout the documentary. Roberts even has this typically dark but funny take on whether Brockie would have liked the film.
What did he say?
He quipped, "No, He's not in it, so he would hate it.
Huh. Sounds like Brocky. What about Hunter Jackson, the original co-creator?
The film explores that complex relationship, too. His eventual return for anniversary tours after a long period of animosity.
And he's interviewed in the film.
Yeah, and offers his surprisingly candid, maybe sometimes harsh perspective. McGuire also talks about his close mentor-mentee relationship with Jackson, their falling out, and eventual reconciliation.
So despite the conflicts, the bond is strong.
Ultimately, yeah. This is Guar portrays this strong, enduring bond. A genuine sense of family that's weathered incredible storms.
And they see it as a positive story.
They do. Which maybe challenges some stereotypes about, male musicians being emotionally stunted or whatever. They highlight their own growth in communication, handling conflict over the years.
And they still love doing it, the performance.
Oh, yeah. Their enduring excitement about putting on the costumes, unleashing that chaotic stage show.
Well,
It's infectious. McGuire says something like, I eat, breathe, drink Guar.
wow. It really sounds like the documentary gives a fascinating glimpse behind the blood and fury, into the surprisingly human heart of it all.
Definitely seems that way.
Okay, finally, let's talk about something really unexpected. Gior's acoustic EP, Disc with No Name, and Blothar's take on it.
Yeah, this was certainly a curveball, wasn't it, for a band known for, well, sonic brutality.
Totally. What was the thinking?
Blothar, Michael Bishop, described it in an interview as an interesting diversion, basically an experiment.
To see if the songs work stripped down.
Exactly. To see if the core of certain songs held up acoustically. He specifically mentioned the bluesy foundation of I'll Be Your Monster and the underlying guitar work in I'm Gonna Kill You.
But he reassured fans this isn't the new Gior direction.
Oh yeah, he was quick to say this isn't a sign of Gior going full-on folk music or anything, which I imagine was a relief to many.
I bet. He also explained that year of the ultimate bohab thing. What's a bohab?
Right, 2021 was the year of the ultimate bohab. He explained a bohab is basically an incredibly dedicated, sometimes obsessively enthusiastic Gior fan.
Where's the name from?
Apparently, it originated from their old Dungeons & Dragons sessions, named after a friend called Bob the Slob.
Amazing.
So the band's goal that year was just to shower these devoted fans with new music, various projects, give back to the hardcore supporters.
And they're branching out into other things too, right? Not just music.
Blothar touched on that.
Yeah.
Their ventures into other areas, what he calls vice, driven partly by the changing music industry,
Like what?
Their Catoctin Creek Ragnarok Rye whiskey,
Okay.
their Bud of Gods CBD products, and even a Gior versus Time Card game for fans. It seems like smart ways to connect with the audience beyond just albums and tours.
Makes sense. Did he reflect on the stage show at all? Any regrets?
He did take a moment to reflect on the evolution of the infamous stage show, admitted the notorious poop cannon was perhaps a misstep.
Uh-huh. I can only imagine. Sounds like an experiment that was spectacularly messy.
Probably an understatement. Looking at their longevity, Blothar seems very aware of their unique position.
Oh, so?
He basically acknowledges that there is nothing like Gior out there, recognizes their unique cultural footprint, even points to their influence on popular cartoon bands like Metalocalypse and Death Clock.
That's true. You can see the influence.
And intriguingly, he hinted at the possibility of a Gior movie in the future.
Oh, really? The proper movie?
Yeah, suggesting they might leverage the band members' non-musical interests during downtime on tour, maybe capitalize on that visual aspect.
So even after all these decades of intergalactic mayhem, Gior keeps surprising us, exploring new avenues.
Absolutely. From the intense, detailed recording of The Blood of Gods to this unexpected acoustic detour, their creative journey is just fascinating.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the chaotic and, surprisingly complex world of Gior, what are some of the key insights that really stand out to you?
I think the most striking thing, for me anyway, is that powerful contrast between the deliberately outrageous, shock rock public persona and the genuine creativity, the deep camaraderie, and frankly, the impressive resilience of the individuals behind those iconic masks.
That comes through strongly.
They've navigated huge personal losses, internal challenges, all while consistently pushing artistic boundaries in a way that's just unique. There's nothing else like it.
For me, it's the enduring appeal. It's still kind of baffling. How does a band known for such extreme shock value not only cultivate and maintain such a dedicated fan base,
The
Bohabs,
Yeah.
but also continue to evolve and explore new creative territories after all these years? It's pretty remarkable.
It really underscores the power of that elaborate mythology they built, doesn't it? Their unwavering commitment to their artistic vision, whatever that might be at the moment, and that incredibly strong connection they've forged with their fans.
Definitely. It's fascinating to ponder, given Jiwar's long history of just obliterating boundaries, what other unexpected directions could they take in the future?
Right. Could we finally see that full-fledged Jiwar feature film they hinted at?
Or what other sonic landscapes might they explore after dipping their toes into acoustic stuff?
The possibilities seem as boundless as their intergalactic origins, I suppose.
Uh-huh. Well put. It leaves you wondering what other surprises these scumdogs of the universe have in store for us.
Indeed. Never a dull moment.
Well, that's all the time we have for this particular deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we plunged into the gloriously chaotic and surprisingly multifaceted world of Jiwar.
Deep dive on PR Genius.